Well, thanks for coming back. Welcome today. I'm with Carol Ferrucci. I get your name right? I'm Italian. I should know that. Okay. She's with the Connecticut Doggone Recovery Volunteer Group, and they do important work. Carol, you are right now. You just told me about your day, which is kind of tremendous. You're here, you're there, and you're trying to trap a dog in Mystic. So, how did you get involved with this group?
For me, it started multiple years ago. I was always interested in the outdoors, and I always had a love for dogs. And I had a dog I was interested in having in lost pet recovery. So I hooked up with a woman out of Mystic. Her name was Marge Lineweber, and with SMART, which is Summit Missing Animal Response Team. And I was working with her and training my dog at that time. My dog became ill, so I had to pull him out, and he wasn't a suitable candidate to continue the work.
And this work is the dog and you go out and look for
Yes.
other animals or people, or was she with just...
It was for other animals,
Other
for
animals.
missing pets.
Okay, missing pets.
But through her, I learned about another a program that she was involved in, which is called Missing Animal Response Network. And Kat Albrecht-Thielsen is the one who is the founder of that organization. And Kat has been doing this for over 20 years, I'd say, and she founded a lot of the principles in lost dog behavior and how to search for lost pets. And I got involved in some of her workshops and some of her trainings, and she has some online courses that I was taking, and I got very interested in other aspects of lost dog finding, which is what I can do with that. You know, it's much more involved work than one might think. So I learned a lot of the techniques, and I started working and training with that. And eventually I hooked up with Connecticut Doggone Recovery volunteers who were doing this similar work, and we started working together. And then they also got involved in the training that I was doing with Kat.
And that's with the Dog Star we talked about, because they've been on this program, Dog Star Recovery. You're a part of, or Dog Star Adoptions, you're a part of that group. They're out of Bloomfield, I think.
Yeah.
Or you're tied in somehow with that group. Yeah.
Dog Star Rescue, yes, we're
Rescue.
affiliated with them. We're a division of them, yes.
Okay. Now, one thing I read on your website, and you have found a lot of animals. There was a lot of animals up on your website. Yes or no, dogs are easier to find than cats. And you mentioned, well, people are more concerned, like when they see a dog running loose, cats are, they're wild things. But so how easy is it to find a dog? That's number one question. How far do they normally wander from home? Since there are principles now on how to deal with this situation. So if you're going to catch them, in what period of time do you think that you have to do this?
That's a lot of questions.
Yeah, I know. Okay, let's go with if you're going to catch them. How long does it usually? You mentioned, well, one was missing 4 months.
Yes.
What is the average? I guess the easier, nicer things. What was the average?
I'll say probably around 12 days. But really, the things that depend on how quickly that goes is the behavior of the dog, the behavior of the owner, and if there's a finder involved, the behavior of the finder, how all those things come together.
How does the behavior of the owner affect, aside from they're out of their minds looking for their animals, but how does that behavior affect the factor of finding the dog? I mean, how is that involved?
When we're working with owners, we offer a lot of guidance around best practices to do. So how cooperative are they going to be, or how willing are they to, willing's a better word, is to get the posters up so we can generate the sightings. Call us if there's sightings coming in so we can work with them. Because we need to know in real time when those calls come in. So how invested is the person in the lost dog process? Most times owners are devastated. So most times we have total cooperation with the people.
I can imagine.
We hear over and over again of how horrible this is, the experience. It's like losing a family member.
Yeah, it is. And a family member who doesn't speak the language or hold the currency, so he or she can't get back home easily.
Yeah.
I have heard with cats, for instance, that if you, and I don't have any outdoors, I adopted an outdoor cat, and woof, that was a tough one, and he didn't live very long, so we don't do that anymore. But I understand that cats kind of, once they're in your house for X number of period of time, can understand the lay of the land outside your house. okay? And when this little guy got out first, he hid under the bushes all night, then I found him. But he understood the lay of the land. Dogs don't almost, and yet they're out taking walks. Dogs don't almost understand the lay of the land, like how to get back home. Do you find that to be true?
Some dogs do. So one of the things we have the owner do is to put out, if it's not raining, like we'll say, where does the dog go usually in and out of? Let's say it's a porch area or an alcove or a garage. We might have them leave it open and put some bedding inside and perhaps a bowl of water. Some dogs just return home. Other dogs, and if it's a dog the owner's had for quite a while and there's a bond, then the dog will most likely just come right into the house.
Right.
We've had other dogs, if it's a new rescue or if it's a dog the owner doesn't know that well, that dog, if it gets loose, they may return to the house, but the likelihood of it coming in are less likely. So that might be a dog where we set up a trap, let's say, in the yard.
That's what you're doing down in Mystic today. You're trying to trap somebody down there?
We're getting sightings, and once we get an area where we believe the dog is staying, we might set up a feeding station with a camera to see if we get the dog coming there and feeding, and then we'll set up a trap.
Okay. So one of the things on the website that confused me a lot is that you said, don't call the dog. To me, as a naive person, as not a professional like you are, well, hey, Boo-Boo, it's Mommy. You know, I mean, Boo-Boo should be happy that Mommy is here. Come here, Boo-Boo. But you're saying, no, don't call the dog. It just freaks them out?
So there's a lot of things that go into that. If you have a dog that you've been bonded with for a very long time, there was a study done on 2,500 dogs. 2/3 of the dogs, when you called out to them, the first instinct was to run, and 1/3 came back. If you have a dog that's new to you, though, the chances of that happening are very nil. And that's with the owner. But so we always go on a side of probability, the higher probability, and that would be don't call. So if you err on the side of caution and you use techniques to get the dog to come, then we have a better chance of getting the dog home. So we're going to tell everyone, don't call out to your dog. And we don't want the community to do this either because, see, when the dogs get loose, they go in what's called flight mode or survival mode. And so when this dog is loose, it becomes very scared, very frightened, very anxious. It's not in a familiar environment. And there's a lot of scary things out there, too. There's predators, there's cars.
Traffic and no food and no...
Absolutely. This dog is frightened. So when you get these, so when you see the dog, it's in a super alert mode. And you got the survival mode, you got the flight mode going on. So the first instinct is when it sees something, and if someone calling it, is to flee, is to run. And when a person does that, what could happen is, if we know the dog's in an area, it can make the dog leave the area, and then we have to go find it again. Or worse, it can make the dog go out into traffic and get hit by a car, which we don't want to have happen either. So what we ask people to do, including the owner, is to just note where the sighting is. And the owner, we might give some other, there's some other variables involved, but if it's a community member, we're saying just call in the sighting. Where is it exactly? So don't just give us a street. If it's a long street, we may not know where on that street. So give us either a street number or a landmark.
Cross address or something like that. Yeah.
Something that can help us to pinpoint where you're seeing the dog, because that might be a place where we need to set up a feeding station and a camera. Now for owners, if we get callings, we might try some different techniques. If it's a dog that the owner knows, like right up here in Suffield, we had an example where we had a dog, a woman owned this dog, and she adopted it out. And the new owner, the dog ran from him. And it was loose. And it showed up on a camera, a security camera at someone's home. This is after it was running around for a few days. The woman that owned the dog previously was up there with me, as was the animal control, Ryan. And we were out there, and we got the call from the homeowner saying, hey, the dog's on a security camera. So we all went over there. And the dog was in the backyard. We knew where the dog was located. And what we did with the owner was we told her to not walk towards her dog, because we knew that would just get the dog running. Yes. So, and she brought along another dog, a sibling of this dog. We call them magnet dogs, on a long line. And what we had her do was go to the house next door and walk straight back, not towards the dog so it would bolt, but straight back. And we instructed her to just sit down on the lawn and play with her dog and ignore the lost dog. And within 10 minutes, we saw the dog go, it processed the information, it processed who she was, and went flying right to her. And then we had her there with a slip lead.
That's because, I mean, like, to me, it would be, there's my sibling, and like they're pack animals, you would think, but that's interesting. They're so different, like I said, than cats. And obviously, to give you an example, we had, there's a dog in Pennsylvania, Lansdale, Pennsylvania, that I keep seeing on Facebook, and I have family down there, and I keep saying, please look. His name is Balto, and he's been missing since June, maybe April, sighting all over the place. And I keep saying, wow, they're not as independent as cats, so how do they survive that long in the wild, or do they go wild? Do they start wilding? Everybody's looking for Balto, but so that was very interesting. Like, don't call the dog. That would be the first thing I would do. Probably was like run towards the baby. My baby, it's there. So that's an interesting thing. How many volunteers? Well, you said you weren't sure of how many in the organization, but are there a specific number that do the trapping or try to or go out? Like, is it a core of people that know dog behavior very well?
Yes, we have 11 fully trained people right now with us. And we have some people that are interested, so we're training up some other people too. So we have people throughout the entire state, well, not the entire state, but through various parts of the state to help us do this. And then, of course, there's a lot of people that want to volunteer with us. And we have a volunteer form. It's on our website, which is ConnecticutDogOnRecoveryVolunteers.org. And I know you're going to put that up
We're
later
going to put it up so everybody will know it. I'm probably
Yeah.
going to get this bulge of phone calls. They could be all over the state after that, but yeah.
We love it.
Yeah, it's such a spectacular thing. I mean, losing a dog to death is one thing, but then, losing an animal when is out there and you're worried they're suffering or something like that is going on, it's got to be horrible.
I want to go back to a point too. Yes, that we're talking about lost dog owners. It is very tempting to want to call your dog, and it's very, very, I know it'd be very difficult. So you see your dog there, but we do have particular techniques. We often tell owners, don't step towards your dog. Just sit on the ground and gently call it. And if you have some lures, like ahead of time when the people call us in and tell us their dog is missing, we'll ask them a series of questions. So there might be some things we have already with them out there as they're sitting on the ground. Perhaps the dog is very food driven. We'll ask them to crinkle the bag and to toss some food, not at the dog, but near the dog, and try to bring them in. And just let the dog slowly realize who you are.
Yeah.
Or we might have the dog loves a ball, so we might toss a ball up in the air and just ignore the dog and have the dog come to us, or roll it around us, or a frisbee, or whatever we have to entice the dog to come towards us and recognize who we are, but not stare at the dog, not stand up. We're doing very disarming type of behavior by sitting on the ground. I even had owners have to lay on the ground in order to get the dog to come to them.
It's like, oh, brother. And so what did you say the average is? I think you said the average is there an average of days that when somebody goes missing that you can generally get them back home?
I gave you a guesstimate of 12 days. Sometimes it's much sooner, and sometimes it's much longer. It all really depends on the circumstances.
You said that the longest one, would you say, was 4 months missing? Something?
That was my personal search. There's another member in our group hers was 9 months, I believe.
And it still was okay.
And other people have had them even longer throughout the country. On the Missing Animal Response Network side, I've read some incredible stories, 2 years.
I just read 12 years, but I don't know whether somebody took the dog in and the dog finally, because you always hear these fascinating stories that the owners moved, the dog escaped, or at a campsite they couldn't find him, and he makes his way back home, but a couple of years. So that's fascinating too. But so do you also have a phone system? Because when I had a missing cat, there was a place I could call that popped all the phone numbers in my particular area, 5-mile radius maybe, to say, if you see this cat, this is the owner, even though it was chipped, it never did come home. That was my outdoor cat that just would not situate himself inside the house. And again, I said, after that heartbreak, I built a catio, and I have to do this a lot. Get away from the door, get away from the door.
Yeah.
So that's not going to happen to me again. But so is there like a phone system, or is it posters? Is it identifying with neighbors, or all of the above?
If we don't know where the dog is, then I'm going to do anything I can to develop awareness in the community. And on our Facebook page, you'll see our name is Connecticut Doggone Recovery Volunteers Network. We're networking, and that's what we're talking about here. So the phone system you're talking about, there are some paid services out there that will do Amber Alerts.
That's what I did. That's what I did. It was 3 years ago.
So, I mean, we'll tell people about those, and they can utilize those if they wish. Other things we certainly advise people when we don't know where the dog is located is to get some posters up. And we do generally within, you were asking me how far do they usually run?
Yeah, what's the circle?
You know, like everything we're talking about is like on a bell-shaped curve. You have the highest probability down to the lower probability. So you start with the highest probabilities. So the highest probability would be a 3 to 5 mile radius.
Okay.
If we're not getting the calls, we might want to take a step back for a minute and think about why are we not getting calls? And is the dog in the woods? Are we looking at, do we need to expand further out? And generally we do then expand posters further out. What other things do we need to do to try to help to generate some sightings? And one of the things we're actually, when we do our fundraiser that we're going to do, is we're working with, I'm actually talking to a gentleman out of Texas who's known to do a lot of work with thermal imaging drones. And I'm working with him. And for our fundraiser, that's what our goal is, to earn the money, then to develop
you can, wow,
that
that's
search
great.
item. And that's what we do, is we try to get a lot of equipment that will help us to bring more dogs home. But, you know, like, so it all depends on what is happening, the circumstances as to how we guide our search.
Is this a free service, or is this a paid for service, or you donate? You know, because you're using a lot of your time, a lot of the other volunteers' time. I mean, you're volunteer, but there is some cost to having this go on. It's an expensive time-wise proposition. I'm going to say expensive.
We're strictly volunteers, so our services are free. We do accept donations. So on our website, we have a PayPal account, and then we do fundraisers, and the other thing, sometimes people just donate to us when we find a dog, which is awesome.
They're willing to put a big reward out there in general, you know, so.
Exactly.
Yeah, so do something to help the people that helped you find your animal.
So all those monies that we get, that are, whatever's donated to us, goes directly back into finding animals, and it goes in 3 different areas. It goes towards equipment, because equipment's expensive. This thermal imaging drone is going to be expensive. Some of our traps are very expensive. We bought a drop net trap for dogs that don't like to go into the traditional traps.
It's like from a tree, something from a tree that comes over the dog, or you're hanging from?
They're on poles.
Oh,
we
okay,
actually spike some poles in the ground, and we have magnets holding the net up, and then we stay out in a car and we observe this, and we hit some buttons, and the net drops on it. We actually have a video of it on our website. So it's for equipment, it's for supplies. So we need batteries. We need bait for our food, for our traps. We need different things to help to keep the services going. And then the training of our volunteers. I did mention the Missing Animal Response Network. We send our volunteers. We've been, for the last several years, Kat has traveled from British Columbia all the way over here to Connecticut, and we've gotten speakers from all over the country to come in and to do a seminar with us. And it's a weekend seminar classroom, and then there's some groundwork that's done on another 3 days with people that are training dogs. And she comes out, and we sponsor all our volunteers going to that training and becoming involved in it.
So that's again another big expense on her. Yeah. So about how long has this organization been in business, so to speak?
The organization kind of came together in 2013, and it's been evolving ever since then.
Fairly new. You've got a lot done based on the website. It's fairly new. I have a funny story. I was driving up here to see my fiance many years ago, and he is not an animal. We have cats, but he's not a dog person. I don't know what freaked him out about dogs when he was younger, but he's just not a dog person. And on his porch, our address was 820, or his address was 820 Mattianic Avenue, right here. And on the porch were 2 dogs, and he's trying to get a broom to go, 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 go. And I'm coming up the walkway. I'm like, what do you do with those dogs? Why you got a broom trying to shove them off the porch? He says, well, I didn't want you to be scared of I'm not scared of animals. I love animals. I'm not afraid. And then he called the police and said, there's 2 animals here, 2 beautiful dogs. There's 2 dogs here. They will not leave the porch. And the police said, what's your address? We told him 820. And he burst out laughing. He goes, the owner at 920 just called. So I'm like, the damn dogs couldn't read. So he was living. They came and got him and took him away. But it was just so funny. 1 digit off, buddies. 1 digit off, But so I'd like to talk about your fundraiser here because
sure.
it's perfect timing. It'll be right the week after. Well, I think I should have said damn on TV. I think I should have said darn. Anyway. He'll fix it. We've got Connecticut Doggone Recovery and Dog Star Rescue present Doggone Gathering, a Christmas party. And they would like you to bring a new dog toy or dog treats for a shelter dog for Christmas, which is, they're also helping shelter dogs this way, not just your puppy. There's a lot going on. DJ Soul, Brian from Leash on Life, Deb from Canine Search and Rescue Services, Renee Danino, iHeartRadio, Dog Star Rescue Adoptable Dogs. Will they be bringing some dogs? Or like I know sometimes the cat places don't because cats are skittish. They'll have some dogs there?
They will. They're going to have some dogs. Okay.
Pictures with Santa. Is that you or your dog? Or both?
It could be the kids. It could be adults. It could be the dog. We're open.
Okay, open. So pictures with Santa. Raffles, dancing, and tons of fun. That is Sunday, December 15th, so you're off, starting at 1 o'clock at 12 Toby Road in Bloomfield at the Dog Star headquarters. It sounds like a good time. The tickets aren't available for purchase yet. They are not expensive. They're $10, and they'll have it up on their website, I'm sure, like November sometime? This is a December party?
We're planning to have it very soon, actually.
Okay. It will also be up probably, we're going to get Howard, the director over there, to put this information up too. So anything that you do certainly is going to help this organization continue their good work for free and get those doggies home and take care of shelter animals at the same time. So that's important to know. And it will be running, this show will be running, I think, in November. It will be running in November, so they'll have plenty of time to buy those tickets. And it's afternoon. You can't tell me you're tired at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So Carol, I appreciate, A, what you're doing. I know how important it is. And B, that you came here. You got to be in Mystic next to trap a pup. And we do appreciate the work you're doing and would like to stay in touch. And I thank you for coming.
I thank you for
inviting us. A lot of time out of your day.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.